Then I'll just start with introductions yeah. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third in the series of webinars by Verloop on ongoing COVID-19 crisis and its effect on various sectors in MENA region. My name is Ankit Sawant. I am the Global Sales Head for Travel for Verloop, and I'm delighted to be moderating this session with a set of esteemed folks from travel industry. Today with us, we have here Vittorio Barraja. I hope I spelled it right to say it right.
It's fine.
Vittorio Barraja is the CMO for Travelstar. We have Avinash Ambati, who is the growth and product and growth head for Rehlat. And we have Ghose, who is the VP of partnership from Headout. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Okay. So many thanks for joining us for the discussion, and also invite the audience to do a live participation by asking questions with the panel on the screen. What we'll do is we'll just quickly do a 30-second introduction with everyone. We'll start with Joy. So Joy, just go ahead and give us an introduction from your side.
That's fine. Yeah, cool. Thanks. So hi, people. I'm Joy. I'm with Headout. I look after supply, acquisition, partnerships, and distribution for Headout. I'm based in Hong Kong. And I've been in the travel industry for quite a while, for around 10 years, and been in companies with like Klook and with the Hong Kong Tourism Board and Universal Studios in Singapore in the past. And great fun to be here and to be chatting with interesting folks about a very interesting industry.
Okay, so Vittorio, you can go next.
Hi, nice to meet you all, guys. Thanks again for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm Vittorio Barraja, Italian, as you can imagine. I work for Travelstar, the biggest online travel agency of Africa. I've been in the travel industry for about 6 years, and I'm based in our Dubai hub. That's about me.
Okay. Avinash.
Hi, guys. Welcome, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. This is Avinash Ambati. I work as a product head and a growth head for Rehlat. Rehlat is an online travel agency for the Middle Eastern geography, and we are one of the fastest growing OTA in that geography. And I've been into travel industry for about 4 years now. Prior to that, I was with telecom industry, and looking forward to have a great conversation with the other folks.
Okay. Cool. So let's just dive in quick. We have 1 hour with us and we have a lot to talk about. I want to quickly start with Vittorio first. And to basically, the thing is, the marketing has always been key in travel, and just especially for OTAs, right? And the frequency of buying for a travel company is fairly low compared to how you use an Uber. So how has your outlook changed for travel market, which is basically while a lot of people call it pre and post COVID, I want to classify it as pre, ongoing, and post COVID. So how has things changed for you in terms of marketing for travel?
It's another company, so you are absolutely stating it right. And I mean, in Travelstar, we claim Travelstar 1.0 before COVID and now 2.0 after COVID. Absolutely, you are correct in stating, marketing is primary for an OTA. The digital acquisition, user acquisition is possibly the second biggest cost in our bill, and I assume for Rehlat is exactly the same. And of course, this changed a lot during COVID. So I would say, in a sense, what COVID did was to change the perspective of our industry in the market, and by our industry I mean online travel agency especially, because before we were very focused on transaction, and of course making customer loyal was very complicated because of the in a sense, disloyal nature of the industry, when now we're much more customer-centric, focused, and we shifted a lot towards assisting the people with their bookings, with their refund requests, in general with all their queries to be able, to travel again and also understand which are their rights, how they should be moving. So our outlook moved from being a acquisition-oriented company, always focused and be driven by growth, to a customer-centric organization, which has in its mind and as a primary target to assist customers.
Okay. So Avinash, what do you want to add on this? Because you and Vittorio pretty much handle a similar portfolio.
Right. It was a very humbling experience, and also I was pleasantly surprised about certain things, and I was really amused about certain things. And certain humbling things which have happened were about other OTAs or travel companies or the travel startups which were innovating, like Airbnb and Hopper, which went into a different phase during the COVID scenario. Coming back to us, we were a really lean organization, so we almost have a 2:1 workload for every employee. So saying that we COVID has actually gave us or kept us in aligned with our actual product vision. So we had a product vision to be in the traveler's journey from this state of dreaming a destination to the entire end of the destination, and again post booking experience and also post travel experience as well. But we were not really focusing there. We were completely diving deep into the flights and hotels booking business, because that was our strength, bread and butter. Now during the COVID period, we got enough time to focus on certain other things which we always wanted to do. That was one major thing which we got a breathing period, especially the April, May time. We had to take a step back and try to see, on a broader view, where we want to be in a couple of years from now, and also try to understand what has happened in the industry just because of a pandemic that has been never expected. So saying that our core products were flights and hotels. Now we want to move into ground transportation as well, to be a part in the user's journey, and at some point of time probably partner with Headout kind of companies to give a full full scale experience within the same product itself.
Okay. So Joy, you have a potential customer here itself, and so how have things changed for tools and activities?
I think we are the only focused in this panel. I mean, tours and activities only platform, right? So for us, I mean, we are not on the top of the funnel. We are not generating flight tickets and hotel revenue, right? Which is the top of the funnel in this industry. So for us, tours and activities is the reason why people travel. They don't travel because they want to fly on a flight or they want to stay in a hotel. Or maybe if it's a Amman, a nice hotel or something, yes, they will. But the reason why tours and activities companies exist is because that's the reason why people travel. So when this pandemic came, so I think our industry, tours and activities especially, was hit like really hard. Most companies, there was massive layoffs and all this all over the news. But I think for Headout, we try to figure out and we try to understand that the same assumptions that were made by firms across the industry needs to change now, right? So let's focus a little bit more on the tours and activities bit. If we look at it, while most of the firms, they were trying to solve for the very atomic need of customers, which is, should we go local? Should we offer digital experiences and all that? I mean, we felt that there needs to be one level up approach, a very macro approach, which needs to actually understand what is the customer needing. I mean, what will solve the query or solve the need for the customer. So one of them was, it really came out and stood out to Headout, is we thought that the attractions that were opening and closing, that was not really updated. That information was very fragmented. And our industry is very used to having that information, and the requirements of visiting a museum and attraction and all that was very standard, right? That suddenly changed. So we tried to solve for that. We tried to create something called a global experiences and reopening tracker, right? And that helps all attractions, all guests of Headout and globally to understand, okay, this is where I can travel to. This is what the countries are open. This is what we should not go to. And these are the visa restrictions, etc. That's one of the major things I think we focused on. And the other one was, there was suddenly a big focus on safety and safe experiences tag, which also we had to roll out safe experiences and safety standards and procedures. We had to work with all our supply partners in different regions to make sure that all the safety standards are like WHO standards, So that was something that we did to make the customers feel safe, to make a booking on Headout, These are the two top things that I think we implemented when COVID came, right?
Okay. So I think trust was one of the biggest thing which happened in while travel, because how do you trust? Like we saw a lot of American Airlines partnering with cleaning companies to ensure, so something which customers took for granted that airplanes are cleaned usually was marketed in such a way that, oh, we are cleaning our airplanes like twice a day or whatever. Okay, so let's just move to the next question. I wanted to ask Avinash, because you're handling product as well. Trust, how do you get, or what things have you done on the product side? Because we are very used to seeing a flight search will look in a certain way. The hotel search will have a certain layout, and there are only very finite differences between products. So what have you guys figured out, or what do you think you should be doing in terms of product changes to bring the user trust back in the product?
Yeah. So if we consider the aspect of trust, let's consider the customer segments. Okay, one new customer who are completely new to our system, and there is a repeat customer. So the first customer would have already, the first customer would be trying to make an experiment with a new brand, or trying to give a benefit of trust to a new brand. So during that time, not just during the pandemic time or after the pandemic time, since before that also, we always wanted to have trust, because flights and hotels, probably the holiday travelers would be spending a significant amount in booking their tickets. So we always wanted to have the trust factor in our core product. And if you consider the entire booking experience, like pre-booking, during the booking, and the post-booking experience, before the pandemic has happened, we were focused on providing the proper ratings and reviews. We were thinking of keeping a proper database of our company or the brand, which is available to a new customer. And also for the repeat customers, we wanted to have a very nice post-booking experience, especially with the customer care support, trying to ease their cancellations or refunds. And coming back to your question, if it's about during the COVID time, the first thing what we have done is to create a specific feature in our product, where we have created an Explore Destination tab, where we are kind of communicating the exact information about the countries where they can travel now. So certain countries have opened up their international flights. And soon, even our core market of Saudi and Kuwait, they are also opening their international flights. So that's one big thing we have added very quickly, probably in April, May time, we have added them, and we kept on refining that information, the visa restrictions and the kind of destinations which are attractive at this point of time. And we are seeing a good amount of engagement with that particular feature. And saying that during the booking process, in a way, most of the OTAs or the fear generally the new customers would have is that there would be some kind of hidden costs, or the add-ons would be sold without being properly informed or something like that. So we always kept the strategic decision that we split up the costs and show to the user upfront. And even the add-on services which we provide are more contextual, and also we never pre-check these kind of add-on services and increase the bucket size. We have done our experiments and tried to understand the user behavior and figured out that, okay, it's up to the discretion of the user to go ahead with or not. So yeah, this is more about building the trust. But then the post-booking experience during the COVID period had been a really challenging experience, because we had huge quantum of bookings which were supposed to be refunded, cancelled, and we have a limited amount of bandwidth. So we had to find out ways to create a prioritized approach so that none of the customers would be getting into a mistrust kind of a thing. So we try to prioritize the customers. We were very prompt in the social media platforms where they were escalating. So those were cleared and tried to be we tried to answer. And proactiveness was all other thing which we have learned. Being proactive and communicating about any delay in refunds, either that could be because of the airlines, because certain things have been really tight for the OTS as well because of the airline refund policies. So we have tried to refund those customers who were our loyal customers. We try to understand, okay, if this customer is a repeat customer, what is the history of this customer's booking history, and try to come up with a prioritized model where we try to reduce the number of complaints and escalations.
Okay. So same version of the question, little twist for Vittorio. How did you use marketing to bring out that, show that trust to the users? So what did you guys do in terms of trust, in terms of building trust?
Well, in this case, marketing really much touches a product. So we've done something similar to Rehlat in a sense. When we noticed that the world was starting to close down and everything was unclear, we proactively start to switch off a certain kind of flights on our website to avoid people from booking and then regretting and somehow questioning the trust to our company, since as Avinash correctly pointed out, for many customers, it's not clear the difference between TA and airline. So the refund process can actually make our company to look bad, even though most of the times we are completely innocent. So we worked on that regard. On the other end, we also started to be more, let's say, present in the pre-booking phase by creating a page that we call Essential Travel, where we created an interactive map updated to the latest IATA standards, where we summarize with a very nice action map. I suggest you to play with that, where you can travel, which are the restrictions, and so on. So this was a way to assist people. At the same time, we also started to prepare, since South Africa it's a bit complicated when it comes to documentation, it's messy. We prepared everything ready to be downloaded by people in case they want to travel. On the other end, from a marketing perspective, we started to work much more on sentiment analysis and intelligence to be able to understand which were the queries from people. And even though it sounds obvious, we found a lot of surprises in there, and we started to adjust our website content based on that, as well as we started to train our agents in the direction of being ready to tackle the most obvious question, but also what we are not expecting.
Got it.
After that, we also changed our post-booking process, and we try to be much more in touch with each single customer, trying to assist them. For many people, we try to assist with the refund process. Others we eventually, sometimes suggest you to not try to go for a refund, which is going to take a long time, rather postpone the flight, which is a much safer option. So that's what we've tried to achieve, to leave the trust with our customers there.
Okay, great. So the next question is for Joy. So Joy, we've known each other for quite some time, and we have worked in a B2B environment in Kloop. So in the current environment, I have already seen a lot of travel brands from adjacent markets who have come together to form very interesting partnerships to drive numbers. So how has COVID accelerated that part of business for you?
Interesting question, Ankit. So for partnerships, so during this time, the partnerships that are forged, it can be either out of necessity or something that you've been trying to do for a very long time, and just right now you have the time to do it. But for us, we focused more on what will be a very important one for us in the long run. So we focused most of our resources to build our supply partnerships in different regions, because now suddenly supply opens up. Suppliers like your Universal Studios, from your big ones like Universal Studios to a Bali Instagram tour or to a museum tour in Paris or in Rome, right? All of these people, they would otherwise be flooded, and they would not be able to have better contracting terms or more bandwidth or slots for us to contract supply. So I thought that rather than inking partnership deals to explore more channels, we would better our core first. So we managed to have more partnerships and we identified more regions where we want to open supply, like in Japan, in Thailand, in Taiwan, etc. And of course, towards the West, in Naples, in South America, in Latin America, and all of these regions. So we looked for better relations and partners who can give us better supply so that we are ready in the post-COVID world. That having said, we also looked at domestic, like every online travel agency. I mean, you cannot really do much with domestic flights unless your country is big and there's city-to-city flights. Like imagine for a Hong Kong or for a Singapore, you cannot really do anything for domestic flights, right? So for OTAs like us, we still have something we can do, and we thought we'll explore that. So we looked at a local strategy. What do locals want to do in the market? And we tried to find the right things to place for the locals to do, and the right combinations for them to go out and try to promote that to the locals. So these are the kind of partnerships which we focused on a bit more. And then we also talked about, should we explore more verticals? Like, should we do car rentals? Should we do hotels, etc.? But then again, I think for a tours and activities company like us, the core is more important, and that's where we should focus, and that's where the focus has been mainly for Headout during this time.
Okay, great. So one of the things which has come out very evidently from Microsoft to McKinsey, everyone has made bold statements on automation, wherein they said there have been a decade worth of automation happening in a couple of months. While we have all here are travel intermediaries, our focus has always been on online aspect of the business. That is pure e-commerce driven, which is already fairly automated, and which is not like an airline business or a hotel business, which is people dependent. So we can today scale up any aspect of our business depending on quick demand. But one aspect that we saw a huge consumer backlash was consumer support or customer support during the early times, that it's still because it was still majorly people driven. So how or what are your respective orgs doing in terms of support automation to be ready for the future? So I would like to start with Avinash.
Okay. So we've come to this conclusion that we can't really rely on the human customer experience as we scale up. So then this was a discussion which has happened in 2018. So then since then we've started to work on the chatbot kind of a scenario, which was on the boom at that point of time. And we came up with a Facebook chatbot and try to do a beta testing out of it and try to understand. And we have seen a lot of exchange of messages that were happening since then. Roughly about like 10,000, 20,000 customers a month were using in that beta mode. But what we realized is, because of certain limitations from the suppliers with respect to refunds or the integration difficulty, certain things can't be completely automated. Essentially there was a need of human interaction at some point of time in the entire process. Saying that, we always wanted to reduce the turnaround time of whenever a customer raises a complaint. So that initial response, which assures the customer that, okay, you don't need to be worried about this particular issue, and we are here and you can trust us, so that we can clear your particular issue. And even, for example, the flight ticket is not being booked and then the flight price has increased, we try to come up with that kind of process where certain percent of the process would be automated, and at some point of time where the initial TAT would be instant or almost instant, but and then at some point of time the human interaction would come in. So we are in a stage where we wanted to increase that automation setup. Okay, if it is 20% now where the automation is there, we would want to stretch this to 30 or 40% right away, because we got that breathing space now. And I also want to state that probably 100% automation is something which is just kind of the vision probably, but I don't know if we will be able to achieve in the near future within 2 years or 3 years. But possibly we can stretch it till 70%, where most of the repeated questions can be fed to a machine learning kind of an algorithm, or take help from experts, where we can create that automation within our framework. But the initial setup to capture the data, that setup is there as of now. We are capturing the exchange of information from the bot to the support team, from the customers, try to categorize the kind of queries which are being initiated, and might as well create the booking experience across this chatbots itself, or an automation process where a certain part can be remembered by the bot, and then which can be triggered into our core product.
Got it. I think you brought up a very excellent point about machine learning. Everyone looks at a chatbot as a very dumb kind of product and assumes that, okay, I will have to make some flows and that's it, and it will work. But it is not like that. Like, we have a team of people who are just working on machine learning to basically understand intents from various queries or natural language that the user uses. And people completely miss it a lot of times while we are talking to brands and they say, no, this is a simple chatbot and we just have to develop flows. If it was so simple, then they should have done it by now. But technically, it is not. Like, there are a lot of challenges. A lot of times a brand, when it goes into it, they realize it.
I think there's a misconception about the entire automation process. It has been a buzzword since a long time. For a long time now, and a lot of companies like the startups and sprouted out to give such kind of support and all, but not many were able to rely upon the standards of the support which is needed for bigger companies to scale up. Saying that, if Verloop is capable of adding all the intelligence, and if it can provide a very nice at least a 50% automation setup for the OTAs, then that would be really helpful.
So we do, right? Like I said, right? We do like a couple of our customers, we operate at a 92% automation today. After having worked with them for a couple of months, a couple of years, actually, it's like a process. It's not something which will happen out of the box. So it's a process that it's a journey that both of us take together, we and the brand, and we start to solve them. And when I mentioned the machine learning team, that actually helps us to guarantee a certain kind of automation in the start. Like, we can say, looking at our customer data, okay, we can start with a 35% automation and we will aim to move it to 50 in 6 months, 65, say maybe in the next 9 months. And we will give that milestones. And we will make sure that we work according to those milestones. So the same question in terms of automation, Vittorio, what Travelstar has done in terms of customer support, right? Because it's one of the biggest areas of concern in terms of travel today.
So we're also very active in terms of chatbots and automation. In our case, exactly like Rehlat, but in the reality, all the industry is trying to somehow work towards automatization to reduce the amount of manpower needed to assist customers. Also because customer queries are, in most of the cases, quite repetitive and can be automatized. What we've been working on, though, is more instead of a full 360-degree circle, rather than to understand until which point we can automatize. And what we're noticing, especially on social media, is the final part of interaction works better when it's done by a human. So up to today, at least in our experience or our geos, we're noticing like how people don't really mind to start interaction with a bot, but no matter how sophisticated, but they prefer to finish with a human being to feel that part of the touch, especially when something is wrong. And here I mean mostly refunds. Amendments can be okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so Joy, you have the most unstandard business in terms of travel tools and activities, where even the same product between two suppliers will have a significant different value proposition and everything. So how are you guys managing customer support today?
So chatbot, while the chatbot learning bit and the massive crowd on massive clogging of customer support may have been new for many of the companies during COVID, because it was mostly for cancellations, we had seen that growth because when we were in the hyper growth stage in the 2017 part, but it was flip side because we were actually seeing queries because the business was going up. So that's how the queries came in, right? So which is quite different from what we were seeing now. But then that time we already realized that, yes, we had the need to create a chatbot. So we created a system to already standardize our processes to screen a customer, look up their booking numbers, pull up their bookings from the booking automation system, which we actually built in-house, and that connects to our reservation system and customer and CRM systems. So that was already built during that time. So now what we have, how we have extended that to is, we created the system to automate sending the refund notifications to all our guests, as all the channels were mostly full of those queries during these times. Further, to manage the refunds and balance all the cash flows, we offered the guests to take a Headout credit. It's actually a little bit different than for other companies, because the USP here was that we offered 125% of the actual wallet value to the guest, and that never diminishes from the wallet. It has a lifetime validity. Doing this actually helped us close the loops faster. Now, we also leveraged a lot by publishing articles about our reformed policies on the account of COVID. So providing these pop-ups on the pages when the guests were making the bookings, etc., and reassuring them that if you make this booking, you can cancel it before 24 hours of your trip, or most of the bookings, even if they were paid 100%, we showed the credits in their wallets to make the guest feel more comfortable. We rolled out something called Book Now, Head Out Later. So, which means you can book now and you can have a product with a longer validity. And we worked with our supply partners and attractions to make sure that that part was automated and the voucher did not have a date on it, and it goes to the customer and he feels like he is more. I'm sorry, the survey came up on my screen, so I had to pause that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and these are some of the processes that we followed during this time for automation. But then again, I mean, Headout has been a very tech savvy company. And I'm not saying this because I work here, but I have met some of the brilliant brains in the company. And every time there is a problem statement, and if the solution is automation, that becomes a priority for the company. And so far, we have so many processes around automation that is built, and they're all integrated one amongst the other. So the flow has been very smooth, given that we are not a very big team in terms of customer service and all that, as compared to our friendly competitors in the market, right?
Okay, so let's move to the biggest question that a lot of businesses are facing right now is work from home, and how for all of us, we know business travel actually drives a lot of transactions for us. Like Monday to Thursday, typically any traveler is usually a business traveler, and the weekend guy is always the leisure traveler. We have seen Zoom go from 19 billion in valuation in December 2019 to, as of yesterday, it was 115 billion. So, and primarily driven by the shift in business folks from various sectors into online video conferencing. Like today, right now, we are doing it. So what do you think are the fundamental shifts that are going to happen in travel pattern and customer profile? I will start with Vittorio.
Yeah, you touched a complicated point we are all facing. Of course, we also have a B2B company, and we noticed exactly the same behavior. So we expect at least for 2020, but many are saying 2021 is going to see a huge decline in travel business. And in the reality, we're going to shift towards work from home or video conferencing. This is expected. On the other hand, there is always going to be a space for travel. People are looking for traveling. I didn't see the result of the poll. But,
even I lost it.
Don't worry about that. No, the reality is no matter what's going to happen, we expect travel to come back. And we know as a fact, the search queries around the world are coming back. And in certain markets, they're actually almost on par year over year. So, of course, there are going to be consequences in B2B, but we expect the B2C to come back even stronger than before, honestly.
Okay, got it. Avinash, for you, Middle East has been very heavy travel and business market.
Right.
So how are you?
Yeah, if you look at the demographics in the Middle East, we are not a single Arab population living there. We have Southern Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Filipinos. Yeah. And we also had Egyptian population and European expats living there. So we almost were catering to about 5 to 6 different demographics of people. And there used to be a lot of travel, business travel, and also home visits by the expats living there. At this juncture, the entire book flight in terms of numbers has actually dropped to a huge extent. Although we were having a fraction of the entire pie of the market, still I think at this point of time we are not seeing much of this travel because of the international visa permits and country restrictions. But we are really sure that the flight bookings and the hotel bookings will come back. And meanwhile, we are also looking at the buzzword like staycations, where people would capture, get into the local domestic hotels or go to your places. We are actually thinking of launching a new product which is into chalets. Chalets are like beach villas because Middle East has a very big beach line. So we want to leverage on that as well. Saying that again, coming back to your question, business travel, we also have a B2B wing for us. B2B agents subscribe there once upon a time, the chunk of B2C transactions were from the repeated B2B customers, and then we went ahead and created this B2B wing. As of now, it is in a very small state, but I feel there would be a huge potential once the travel restrictions go off. I also feel that there would be a huge spike in the travel just once there is any vaccine or the travel regulations gets relaxed in certain destinations, and if they were properly taken care of, people are ready to travel, because we are seeing a lot of searches, like the number of active users have not reduced. That's a pleasant thing for us. I think if we compare to the month of Jan and to the month of August or September, there is a slight 10 to 15% of difference in the active users. If you look at the 30-day active users bucket, that's a good thing for us. And also, we have recently launched Saudi buses, where the crowd transportation is there, and then people have started to execute. So I feel that there is a lot of scope, and then market will come back to its initial stage at some point of time, which could be sooner than we expected earlier.
So Joy,
can I add something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
On our side, so I absolutely agree with Avinash. We expect even to grow even in searches year over year, and it's gonna happen anytime soon. But also, of course, what we're noticing is perhaps people won't be flying for business as much, but the interest around work from home and, in a sense, staycation is growing quickly and steadily. So potentially, in a sense, it's very nice to be able to work remotely. Everyone loves it, works great, very productive. But in a while, it's going to get boring to always be at home. And many people are looking for alternatives. So, nice locations, perhaps on the beach, on the mountains, on this, wherever it is, with a strong internet connection. This is opening up a lot of business opportunities if you segment customers in the proper way and you know how to communicate. So that's very interesting.
Makes sense. So Joy, you are predominantly a B2C business. So the moment people are out of the house, they are their customers. So how do you see this when people are not getting out of their house?
Yes, you're right. I mean, even if they're getting out of their house, they're just going to their offices, right? And that's at least on the weekdays. So we see a surge on weekends. Our weekend business is suddenly, the difference is significant, our weekends and weekday business that we have seen now. And well, business customers were never really a very big chunk for us. We were mainly a very leisure player. But again, it's the person who you're targeting. Like when he's traveling for business, he's probably not thinking for Headout. Neither is he thinking of going to an attraction. But now, when he's going to travel for business, because of the pent-up demand of travel within him, right? He might as well visit an attraction while he's there, right? So Dubai, like we are number one OTA in Dubai right now, right? Our numbers, our customer base and our revenue there has been the largest in our sector. So we are thinking of it this way: in regional business traffic to Dubai, I think we will be able to see some volumes from those kind of consumers, those kind of guests who are now out there, and while they're there, might as well tick off something from their list of things which they have not done or not gone out of the home for so long. Might as well visit that Burj Khalifa once again, or go to the Bollywood Park, or visit the Dubai Frame or something. So our strategy for capturing these customers is very domestic now. So we are mainly a online-driven marketer, online-driven player, right? So most of our branding and advertisement and all that happens digitally. So we intend to capture the intention of the customer, of the guest. So while we have seen that the intention to travel is still there, and like both of you mentioned this, that the intention and search volume is still there. For us, it's more about what is being searched, what keyword is being searched, right? And we think, and we have actually seen it in all the destinations that we are big at, the intention of travel is very much in line with what we are trying to sell. And where there is not in line, we're trying to match our offering to actually what the intention is. Mostly domestic driven. So selling Singapore to Singaporeans, Dubai products to the resident population of Dubai, etc. So I think this will be the strategy for a while.
Okay, great. So I also saw a lot of companies actually in India, they have been trying to mix staycation and workation, calling it workation. They've come up with packages for 7 or 14 days with a beach resort, guaranteed internet for a couple, and basically like just go and work out of there. They're working at
I
home.
think the term is bleisure, right?
Bleisure, which used to be business plus leisure, where people used to extend their business trip to by a weekend and basically just convert it into a leisure trip. But now it's called workation. At least in India, they're calling it workation for now. Okay, so this question is for all of you. One thing which you think will, which you could change in travel industry, what would it be today? Like anyone can go. Yeah, Avinash, go ahead.
Right. So I was mentioning about our product vision earlier. So if you see a typical holiday traveler, it's the entire journey starts with dreaming of a destination, or they have some kind of a destination in their mind, right? And then the second step would be to create a tentative itinerary, and then they go to a booking engine and they make the bookings, essentially flights and hotel bookings. And the next step is to make the in-app or in-destination services, like booking a tour or a guide on that particular day. So if you look at this as 4 stages, the research by Google and other travel companies says that not much of the time is spent in the inspiration mode, where the dreaming of a destination is, because the users must have already had a destination in their mind. Correct. And the second part would be the building of the tentative itinerary, and that is completely fragmented when compared to the booking engine, which is the next step. So essentially, we are trying to solve that problem, where we stitch together the entire 4 steps, where we also provide a lot of data or useful data, unlike TripAdvisor's database, which is huge, where people might get lost sometimes. But essentially, after spending a couple of hours, they might find it. But we want to provide very useful information, which is up to date and very relevant at the second stage of itinerary building, and stitch together the entire flight wish list or the hotel wish list or the must visit wish list into the booking module. So this is something which we want to stitch together and create a one destination platform for the entire trip planning.
Okay, got it. Vittorio, so what would you change about travel?
Well, of course, I'm specialized in marketing, so that's I bring a slightly different point of view. And I completely agree with what Avinash said. On the other hand, of course, my team, or let's say my specialty, is more to work on the first phase, which is the inspiration phase. So we try to create dreams and hoping people then to book with us. I think Joy somehow feels me very much in this. But the reality is also, this other part where we're working a lot is the third part, so the booking engine, in providing all the informations. Of course, COVID and lockdown didn't give us the chance to sell anything. So we've been virtually to zero for a while. So we focused ourselves, on making people to remember why traveling is so beautiful, trying to give them some degree of hope. I know it sounds like big words, but actually that was needed. A lot of people had depression and conditions during lockdowns, and just remember how travel is important. It's one of the engines of the world, and that's how we try to to move our marketing until the point where we changed our tagline in freedom to move, which is a completely different brand perspective.
In terms of what you said about travel, the very quick anecdote I heard somewhere for Etihad Airlines, where every dollar that Etihad Airline earns, it is able to put 3 more in Abu Dhabi's economy in terms of travel. So how basically the airlines and travel and everything comes together to increase the GDP of a particular destination or a nation. Joy,
if I'm not wrong, if I'm not wrong, there was a calculation saying the 20% of the world is somehow workforce in the world is somehow related to travel, either hospitality or travel. So 20% of the people contribute to this economy.
You're right.
Yeah, correct. Makes sense. They're solving some part of travel. So Joy, what would you change?
For me, I think, Ankit, you would be familiar with my answer, and I think you will shake your head when I say this. Automation. And I think technological penetration in our attraction is still, in our industry, is still very low. I think if you look at it, even now, the penetration of the number of travel, amount of travel that's booked online is around 16 to 20%, 16 to 18%, right? So there's a huge scope of development. And this will maybe because of COVID, this will spur an interest amongst all those resellers or attractions who are still not tech savvy, and all those travel companies also who are still not tech savvy. I think this will spur a need for them to get onto that platform and make themselves tech savvy in order to survive. So survival instinct in this case kicks in, and automation instinct, right? Okay. So I think that will be a pivotal change that COVID will bring to our industry. And another thing along with that, the price cutting and the price driven selling, that actually doesn't really solve for a destination's requirement. So if everyone keeps undercutting each other, that we have seen that in the past with some OTAs, right? I mean, it's always flexing the muscle on pricing. Those models are also going to fade away, I think, because consumers travel after COVID. Travel is going to be a premier thing because job cuts, salary cuts, etc. Right? I will think twice before I travel. But then when I'm ready to travel, I'll go all out. I will look for a safe experience. Maybe I will not do a group tour. Maybe I'll go private. Right? So the cost sensitivity and cost-driven travel, that part will also change. And I'm looking forward to that change. So these two things, I think, would be the change.
Got it. Okay. One theory that I have for travel is basically the fact that travel was e-commerce for a very long period of time before Amazon. Travel was the first industry which adopted technology with the creation of your GDSs and everyone with American Airlines coming together. So it had such a long headways in terms of adopting technology that everything in travel grew parallelly. Like airlines grew with their own GDSs, hotel created their own technologies, tools and activities have nothing, so they are getting there. Everything connected to a already broken pipeline. That's why today we don't have a very good pipeline. Or how you have in e-commerce. Today you buy something from Amazon, you don't expect the product to be shipped from somewhere else, logistics to be taken care of by somewhere else, and last minute to be taken care of by someone else. We have a very single pipe hope that the moment I buy it, it will come to me and the ownership will be with Amazon. I think that is something I feel would fundamentally change in travel, where the user will look at a company that, okay, I want to do end-to-end. The whole old school Thomas Cook travel packages, but with a technology twist that I can customize it to whatever level and in real time. So that's my take on what will significantly change. So last question, and we have like very little time on this before we take questions from the audience, is that a lot of companies, basically COVID has seemed to be the mother of pivots on new business lines. A lot of industries had to experiment with something else for revenue. While some of them came with laser focus, some basically diversified further. So we read about how Make My Trip was also trying its hands at food delivery, but it did not end up doing it. It was just an announcement. So what are the few shifts each of you think that your companies are going to take to identify new revenues? And I'll give like 10 seconds to each of you. We'll start with Joy. What are you thinking of new line of revenue?
A new line of revenue can be digital experiences, but to be integrated with us on a next level, like on a app. You point the app, it tells you where to go, etc. That kind of level. So that's the level of automation and integration that we're thinking.
Okay, Avinash, what are you thinking? New line of revenue.
So we are already into the ground transportation. We are into Saudi ground transportation. Looking forward for Egypt and UAE. That's one thing which we are already into. And the second thing is which I think Make My Trip has already started virtual tours. They have some kind of a person guide who will go there and show that, and the people who are booked will be able to see. That is something which is of interest for us. Or if you can partner with any other party who's having the first-hand integration.
Yeah, you can talk to Joy after this. Yeah. So Vittorio, what do you think is going to be the new line of revenue?
Actually, we have had a different approach. So in our case, our holding owns multiple businesses, and our product offering was already quite diversified. We use the COVID time to basically make the company leaner, more united, and provide to the customer a unified experience. So in fact, since we couldn't really check or change the top line, so because if you can't sell, you can't sell, there's no demand, full stop. We try to work on the bottom line to make the company more efficient, the process is better, and so on. And it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but we actually found a lot of revenue stream in there because we're able to put together better, hotels and flights and packages. And we created products with what we already had, in a sense. And together with a leaner structure, we're able to be much quicker on the market. And we found a huge success there, to be honest.
Got it. Okay, so we'll take the questions from the audience now. One of the questions which has come to Avinash is basically, since there have been a lot of repatriation flights from Middle East to India, almost all of the Indians working there are coming back to India, and some of Middle Eastern countries have decided not to give work visas to Indians in many other countries. What do you think? How will this affect the demand?
It has definitely already affected us. There's a lot of to and fro that is happening between Middle East and the Southern Asian countries and Egypt and European countries, but there could be a definite impact. That's the reason we are looking forward for adding other revenue streams. That's one thing. But saying that, we were initially having a fraction of the entire pie. So the pie might reduce, the market size might reduce, but we are anyways having a small fraction of that. We can improve with respect to the other demographics which I've initially spoken of. Like we have European population and also the local Middle Eastern population was also there with us.
Got it. Okay. So this question, next one, has come to Vittorio. How did you keep up with ever-changing policies of airlines in the early days of COVID? What strategies worked?
That's a rough one. A lot of communication to customers. So at the beginning, we voted ourselves, to try to ensure all the refunds. I assume the question is about refunds.
Yeah, I think.
I assume as much as possible. Once, we also got surprised by how the whole industry engulfed and the engine stopped. And then we started to be more proactive and said to customer, okay, we believe based on this airline, this particular flight, this situation, this country, possibly it's better to postpone the flight. So we started to give this kind of tailor-made suggestions, and customer really appreciated that. On the other hand, of course, we have a long-term partnership with airlines, with GDSs. So of course, we try to push the situation as much as possible.
Okay. So this next question, actually, Joy can take this. During current present COVID time, there have been some companies who are coming up with virtual tour programs for their customers. How do you think this will affect traditional travel packages? This was asked by Divij.
Yeah, so we have been dwelling on this question for a while. Should we do it? Should we not do it? And how will it affect in the long run, right? But just because there are so many digital experiences and all these virtual tours available for free on YouTube and other platforms, I do not think, and we and Headout also do not think that this will be a viable revenue stream for a long term. Like, even if you want to do a virtual experience, do you want to pay for it? That's the question you need to ask, right? And how do you make this, like, even if you have a physical tour of, say, Japan, right? Japan, you have a physical tour of Okinawa, of that area. So if that tour costs $80, if you're doing it virtually, is the customer still going to pay $20 for it? And the moment the customer has a choice of doing it virtually or actually, they will of course choose actually, right? So your travel pent-up sentiment will never change. This time is to survive and lay low and build for when the demand is coming back. So I do not think it will have such a big effect.
Got it. So this next question, anyone can take this. It is my anonymous attendee. As work from home gets normal, and if people move away from large cities, will new categories and locations for holidays evolve? Vittorio,
definitely yes.
So let's start with you.
Definitely yes. I mean, there are a lot of studies about how the common classic mainstream destinations are changing, and what we call the microtourism, or let's say local getaways, are becoming more and more quoted. And this is actually a huge change and shift in the market. So in a sense, what we're noticing is, together with the lockdown, so the impossibility of taking flights or the complexity to jumping on a plane, what many people done is actually to start to look domestically at beautiful places, villas, and let's say isolated contexts where they wouldn't naturally go, and stay there for longer period of times. So absolutely right, it's changed. And I don't know if perhaps it's going to be changing forever. It's very interesting trend.
Some destinations are beginning to offer long-term visas, right?
Yeah.
Now they're promoting that come and work from here. And even in Headout, actually, we announced work from anywhere. So all Headout employees are allowed now to work from anywhere as long as they're working, right? And internally, we have many tools to check that. So I think this will be very interesting. Another interesting point in Hong Kong, actually, the Ovolo group of hotels, they have now started renting out hotel rooms as office spaces, hourly office spaces, right? So that's something very interesting, I think, also they're doing.
Okay. Avinash, you want to add on that?
Yeah, so the new set which I've already stated is the staycations thing, and the category which we really want to get into, the chalets, the beach villas. That's major thing which we are looking at in the Middle Eastern geography, and also trying to integrate these day tours or local getaways. That is something which we really want to integrate and see what happens. Saying that, yeah, the virtual tours thing, I really want to see the response for the people who has already done it, so that we don't make the same mistakes or we don't integrate that in the first place. I'm actually looking to see these concepts which have been experimented by other companies and try to take a better step with their experience.
Okay. Sorry, my cat is shouting. Okay, one last question which has come. Okay, there are two questions which have come. So what are the major challenges faced with airports, and what are your expectations from, say, airport operators or airlines? This has come from Javed. Anyone can take it.
Wants to take it? I
anyone.
can go ahead, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
please go.
Of course, let's say what we're noticing around is the reopening phase is usually done in phases, and once a government announces a reopening, then there is a set amount of time where airlines and airports need to adapt to the new standards, and then they can become operative. What we're noticing right now is how airports are possibly the cleanest and safest places ever. I mean, I feel much more concerned in going to a mall and I live in Dubai rather than going to the airport. Airports are actually, even flights are incredibly safe. So, I mean, I don't want to say people are wrong in being concerned, because absolutely there are all the reasons to be very cautious. On the other hand, I can see how the industry, especially, the big international airlines, so the big players, tackled it because they've been amazing. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I guess airports, airlines have spent a lot of money in making sure that the things are completely clean. They have gone above and beyond in terms of telling people about that. And I completely get it. So anyone else who want to jump on that question?
I think I think there would be standards that would be coming out even after COVID. There's a vaccine for COVID. There would be certain standards which the airlines and also the airports would be have to abide by, and there would be other set of standards which would be facilitated for the passengers as well, who travel, and there would be. I think those standards might help or might also open certain revenue opportunities for OTAs.
Got it. So in terms of India, Indigo, I think when flights opened in India domestically, since then they're operating at 55% capacity, but at a half of it is basically occupancy. So they have had only handful of cases where someone was tested positive on the flight, or basically someone who got through the security and was positive on the flight. Otherwise, they have been like any operations, Flight Plus Airlines, the Airports Plus Airlines have been significantly top notch in terms of making sure that the virus is not spread through that airport or from that country to some other country. Okay. Someone has mentioned that Rove Hotels in Dubai is offering hotel rooms as office space. Joy was spot on. So, yeah. Google, someone is saying, I miss Google. Okay, Gaurav from Verloop is saying he misses Google Trips. So, Google Trips used to be pretty good. But yeah, anyways. Any parting notes? We are almost out of time. We are 1 minute over about time. So anything that you want to add in terms of what do you look forward to in a personal capacity? What is the one thing you look forward to in travel, and how do you think what should a traveler who wants to go out should look forward to, or plan is travel by? Joy, you can start from your side.
Yes, I think we are seeing demand coming back, and the demand is more regional and domestic. So I think moving forward, we're looking forward to the 5-hour travel radius. So from each hotspot, there are 5-hour travel radius, which people will start exploring. There are talks about, and many of the green channels have been opened, especially China is absolutely open now. 6 cities in China has a green channel with Singapore. Hong Kong and Singapore are in talks. Phuket, Singapore also are in talks to open up some of the green channels. So I look forward to these hotspots picking up, and I look forward to more guests domestically looking forward to explore their country or travel between these hotspots. That's something I think is going to pick up first.
Yeah. Avinash.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to see what kind of new demographics or the interests of the affinity groups which would come into the new kind of travel modes or the local travels. So that is something which I'm looking forward to. And as for the end traveler, probably providing the right information by any kind of brand would actually help them. So I think we would also, Rehlat wants to give that kind of right information to the customers.
Got it. Okay, Vittorio.
My suggestion is to contact travel agents and trust us. It's important. I'm serious. Sounds stupid, but I'm actually very serious. In this particular time, most of us, if not all, we're not necessarily looking for selling and then having to jump on a fight for refunds and so on. Our main interest is to assist the customer, create loyalty and trust. So if, and especially now where it's a complicated topic, come to us and let us assist you. That's my suggestion for everybody.
Okay, great. I think we had a very good 1 hour discussions about what travel can be. And if we had more time, we could have gone for even longer. So with this, we have all answered all the questions that has come to us as well. And I would like to thank each one of you for taking your time across your timelines, for joining the call and having the discussion with us and being a part of this series of webinars that Verloop is doing. So yeah, that's about it. And thank you everyone. Thank you all the audience who joined us and asked the wonderful questions to the panelists. And we will obviously post this online so that you can go through it again, or you can share it with your friends. That's about it. I guess thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thanks very much. Have a good evening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
It was a pleasure, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye.